What's up, guys? It is Patrick, and right now, we are, as you can tell, we are, uh, live streaming, and, um, we are gonna be watching one of my videos. It's horror video. So, let's get into this video. Uh, let's do this, guys.
Started off first thing, ain't shoot like this. How to see you city, bet they ain't like this. I'm the man, Instagram, take a pic like this. All away, while I whip it like.
Alrighty guys, so what is up? It is Patrick, and I have my brother with me. I'm not gonna use my, camera because, I want you guys to see the full video.
It was pretty
The
loud for me,
link to
guys,
this
so I
guy's,
had to.
channel is gonna be in the description down below.
Same with this,
So
it's gonna
yeah,
be
let's
in the
get
description
into this thing.
down below.
Let's put it fully in.
Alrighty, guys.
So, yeah, his name is Swamp Dweller. That's his YouTube name.
Yeah, I said Swamp Dweller. Don't judge.
A few weeks ago, the hay bales
2
started
weeks
creeping
ago.
slowly away from the house. Every morning when I woke up, each had moved a few hundred feet from where it was before. I assumed it was pranksters with nothing better to do, so I ignored it. Within a few days, though, the bales began to approach the boundaries of the farm. I was tired of the whole game by then and decided to move them back. It took a tedious hour to bring them all the way from where they were over to the house again. And by the time I was done, I was ready to snap the neck of whatever little pissant was deciding to screw with me. The next morning, I found each and every one of my horses messily decapitated.
Ooh,
The smell was what woke me up.
decapitated.
Each one was slumped over against the side of its stall. There were no signs of
You
the
haven't
heads.
watched this before.
I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the mess and burying the remains. It was only when I was done that I noticed the bales had all returned to their positions from the day before, scattered far out into the fields. This time, I left them where they were. That night, I sat on the porch with my shotgun in hand and a pot of coffee on the table beside me. I sat for hours, straining my eyes into the field to catch a glimpse of who was moving my hay bales. Finally, I was beginning to nod off.
Alright,
would have.
guys.
But just as my eyes began to close, I heard a clamor and a rustling of trees from the nearby woods. I leaned forward, my heart racing with excitement. I was going to catch the bastard. I fumbled with my gun and fidgeted in my seat, waiting anxiously for whoever it was to get close enough to ambush. It was only when the thing got close enough for me to make out a silhouette in the dark that I was frozen still. The thing, as I crept into my field from the nearby woods, didn't seem to notice me sitting there.
Even though I
It
make
stalked,
you can still
hunched,
have
and
no voice
deliberate
because it's
through
just
the field with a
happening
posture of a
basically
tiptoeing
in the middle
thief.
of nowhere.
If not for the fact that it must have towered at least 10 feet tall, even in its crouched position, it might have seemed almost frail. The thinness of his arms and legs were emaciated, caved-in quality of his chest remained. The caved-in quality of his chest
Alright, hold up, guys. What we're gonna be doing is actually going directly to the video. So we can not have to listen to my fucking thing. Yep, there it is. The creepy ass thing, but there it is. Swamp Dweller. Dweller. That's what I said last time, Dweller. When I was doing the video.
It was a few weeks ago that the hay bale
Few
started
weeks
creeping
ago.
slowly away from the house. Every morning when I woke up, each had moved a few hundred feet from where it was before. I assumed it was pranksters with nothing better to do, so I ignored it. Within a few days, though, the bales began to approach the boundaries of the farm. I was tired of the whole game by then and decided to move them back. It took a tedious hour to bring them all the way from where they were over to the house again. And by the time I was done, I was ready to snap the neck of whatever little pissant was deciding to screw with me. The next morning, I found each and every one of my horses messily decapitated. The smell was what woke me up. Each one was slumped over against the side of its stall. There were no signs of the heads. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the mess and burying the remains. It was only when I was done that I noticed the bales had all returned to their positions from the day before, scattered far out into the fields. This time, I left them where they were. That night, I sat on the porch with my shotgun in hand and a pot of coffee on the table beside me.
Oh yeah, because using a shotgun
I sat for hours,
really is
straining
gonna
my
help.
eyes to the field to catch a glimpse of who was moving my hay bales. Finally, I was beginning to nod off. I would have, but just as my eyes began to close, I heard a clamor and a rustling of trees from the nearby woods. I leaned forward, my heart racing with excitement. I was going to catch the bastard. I fumbled with my gun and fidgeted in my seat.
Hold up, guys. I'm gonna quickly audio.
Okay. Can you guys hear me loud and clear now? Alrighty, guys. So, I just, changed to my blue snowball. So, now let's continue. And then the next one we're gonna be doing scary skinwalker stories. I guess that's what we'll be doing.
Waiting anxiously for whoever it was to get close enough to ambush. It was only when the thing got close enough for me to make out its silhouette in the dark that I was frozen still. The thing that crept into my field from the nearby woods didn't seem to notice me sitting there. It stalked, hunched and deliberate, through the field with the posture of a tiptoeing thief. If not for the fact that it must have towered at least 10 feet tall, even in its crouched position, it might have seemed almost frail. The thinness of its arms and legs were emaciated, caved-in quality of his chest remained. The caved-in quality of his chest reminded me of a starving animal. Still, this thing was undeniably strong, and I watched it hoist up a bale into its arms with ease and set it down carefully, a little bit away. Taking only a few strides to cover the distance, I watched it work, moving each bale thoughtfully. Every once in a while, it would straighten up to look around at the other bales. Before adjusting the one it was working on ever so slightly, before it left, it looked towards the house. I felt its eyes sweep over me in the dark, but whether it saw me or not, I couldn't tell. Then it turned silently and crept back the way it came, disappearing into the dark of the woods. It took me an hour before I had the courage to move at all. I went inside after a while, but didn't sleep that night. It was only when the sun rose that I dared to step off my porch into the fields. The hay bales were where it left them. Strangely, it didn't move them as far as it had in the previous days. They were approaching something invisible in the fields, and as I looked at them, I realized they seemed to be marking some kind of line. Indeed, as I walked around the house, I saw the distinct circle that formed with me at the center. At first, I thought the bales were just being haphazardly moved away from the house, but now I could see that they were instead being morphed towards some boundary. The thing was sending me a message. I slept uneasy that night, and only because I was exhausted. The next morning the bales hadn't moved at all. They didn't move for at least the rest of that week. In fact, they were finally where the thing wanted them. I made myself sick, trying to interpret them. Why would this thing expend so much energy moving my hay bales,
and threatened me with such violence. Should I even try to interfere?
No.
Killing my horses was just a threat, an intelligent threat at that. It knew it would scare me, and it knew that I understand the implications. The sound of the automobile working its way along the road to my farm one morning gave me a little rush of excitement. I've been planning to abandon the farm since I saw the thing, but I couldn't hope to leave on foot without it risking treating me like it treated the horses. But if I could get in that car, with whoever was coming my way, I might be able to escape before it could stop me. I didn't know or care who it was. I decided that the moment the car stopped, I would jump in the passenger seat and tell them to get the hell out of here. I didn't get the chance. The car worked its way slowly along the road, trundling across the uneven ground. I urged it to silently to hurry. It was when it passed between the two bales, placed on the other side of the road, I began to hear a booming clattering from the woods. The thing burst suddenly from between the trees, sprinting on all fours of its terrible, gangly limbs towards the car. Within a few seconds it was there, pouncing on the automobile like a predatory cat. Within moments, it was picking and peeling the vehicle's steel frame apart, working to get at the driver. The man, whoever it was, screamed. All the while I could hear him over the crunching of the metal and shattering of glass. It was only when the thing crushed him carelessly in his hand that the screaming stopped. It tossed him away and straightened up to look at me once again. In the sunlight, I could see the inhumanity of it. It was composed entirely of something awful and alive, which was lashed together in a messy semblance of human form. Whatever it was made of looked so polished and hard that if it weren't for the minute writhing of the stuff, I'd think it was made of granite. The thing retreated back into the woods, and I was left to my shock. My eyes wandered back to the car. The engine was still sputtering. Between the two hay bales, suddenly I understood. The message was clear. I am this thing's captive, and I am not allowed visitors. Nothing may cross the borders it has set. I'm trapped here, by the thing that stalks the fields, and it demands nothing, except that I never leave. Still, I don't know if I can handle being this thing's canary. I've been thinking hard for the last few days. I'd go and find a new pet, and probably keep looking until I found someone who could stand knowing that it was waiting just outside, watching it all hours with its shiny insect eyes. I've been thinking hard over the last few days. Nice as far as caves go. It wasn't huge, but big enough. The main area, what I thought of as my living quarters, was about the size of a studio apartment. At the back, it branched off into a couple of tunnels. It didn't smell all funky of batshit or animal either, so I thought I was pretty safe. Gave me a place to sleep and get out of the rain at any rate, until something better came along. During the day, I'd walk down to the wharf and play my flute for the tourists and make a little coin. I'd usually take it and get some food or other necessity. On the way back to the cave, I'd gather firewood. As it got dark, I'd build myself a nice little campfire by the mouth of the cave. I'd sit by it and have my dinner, maybe read a bit or watch the flames until I felt tired enough to sleep. Overall, not a bad life. One day I woke up to a really bad downpour. I couldn't see much past the mouth, it was just raining so hard. It made me happy to be in a nice dry cave, instead of huddling under a plastic trash bag. I stoked up the fire and was feeling pretty good. I'd made a habit of bringing in a few more sticks of wood than I thought I'd use, so I could keep the fire going for quite a while. I still had most of a jar of peanut butter and some crackers, and the paperback I hadn't read yet. Seems to me I was pretty well set for the day. I was sitting there, reading, when some movement caught the corner of my eye. I turned towards the cave's opening, not knowing what to expect. He reached out his hand, palm up, then raised his other arm as if to show me he was unarmed. Pretty strange, but okay. I fancy. But when you're hungry, it's enough for a feast. He smiled back and shook his head no. Two things struck me at once. Try. I started asking questions like what he's doing out in this farm. You ain't no claim jumper, are you? I laughed. Nope, no claim jumper here. Didn't thought, followed by just an old man having me on, followed by I was thinking out loud. Just then, there was the loudest clap of thunder and my head turned instinctively towards the mouth of the lightning that lit up the outside. I must have jumped a foot when that thunder sounded. Laughing at myself, I turned back